All right, so this is the key to the worksheet that's lines worksheet 3. And there are two problems. In the first one, you wanted to rewrite the following equation in slope-intercept form. So you have this equation here, this linear equation, this line, and you want to rewrite it so that way y is by itself. So slope-intercept form, you get y by itself. And so you're going to do some algebra here. So let's go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and rewrite it here. You have 4x plus 3y equals 6. And so if I'm going to get y by itself, then we need to get this 3y, this positive 3y by itself. So let's go ahead and subtract 4x from both sides. Okay, what you do one side, you do the other. So I get 3y equal, and let's put the x first. So this is negative 4x plus 6. That's a positive 6. So I went from this to this. Then to get y by itself, notice right now multiplying by 3, the opposite of multiplying by 3 is to divide by 3. So let me go ahead and kind of write it here. So let me go just rewrite this over. So, all right, so then we're going to divide by 3. And so when I divide by 3, I get y equals. Now remember, I want to put this in slope-intercept form. So I want to write this as two separate terms. So you're going to say negative 4x divided by 3, or negative 4/3 x, like this, plus, and then 6 divided by 3, which is 2. And so there is your, so this equation here in slope-intercept form is this. So those two equations are equivalent, except this is slope-intercept form. So that's what you're going to put here. So you're going to say y equals negative 4/3 x plus 2. Now remember, now I want you to tell me what the slope is, and then the y-intercept. All right, so remember, when you have y equals mx plus b, when y is by itself, the coefficient of x is your slope. Okay, that's the slope. And this constant right here, this constant is your y-intercept. So that's where the graph crosses the y-axis. And so if you did this work correct, which we did, then the slope would be the coefficient of x. So the number you're multiplying x by. So that's a negative 4/3. So there's the slope. Now, students make a mistake and they say negative 4/3 x. That is not correct. The slope is the coefficient of x. So that's that number. All right, so there should be a number here, not a variable expression. And then the y-intercept is this number you see here, which is a positive 2. So you can just say 2 if you want to. If you want to write this as an ordered pair, just be careful. As an ordered pair, the y-intercept, remember the point where the graph crosses the y-axis, x is 0. So this will be 0, 2. So either one's fine. Just be careful. Write it like this. A lot of students mess up and they say 2, 0. If you say 2, 0, you made a mathematical error and you wouldn't get all points. All right, so that's how you rewrite a linear equation in this form into slope-intercept form. Okay, now number 2, you wanted to find the slope of the line containing those 2 points. All right, so basically, if you look at it in terms of a coordinate plane, if you look at that line, you have 8, negative 2, and I don't have enough room here, so I'm going to have to estimate. So 8, negative 2 is here, let's say. So you go to the left 8 and then down. I'm sorry, that's positive 8, right? So 8, you go to the right 8 units, so that's 8, which is positive 8 here. So let's say that's 8. And then down 2. So that'll be somewhere around, see that's 7, let's estimate correctly. So right here somewhere. All right, so that is 8, negative 2. The other point, negative 2, 5, so I'm going to go to the left 2 because x is negative. So that's right here. And then up 5. So that will be about here. Okay, so negative 2, 5. And then if I draw that line, like this, I want to find the slope of that line. Now, one of the things you learned about was notice that as you go from left to right, that line is falling. So if a line's falling, right? If a line's falling, then that means that the slope is negative. So when you calculate the slope here, you need to make sure that the answer you write is negative, because looking at this in a coordinate plane, you see that the line falls, so the slope is negative. If the line, remember, the line rose, then the slope would be positive. If the line's horizontal, remember one of the things you learned, if the line's horizontal, the slope is 0. And if it's a vertical line, then there is no slope. The slope is undefined. All right, so that's some of the things you learned. All right, so let's go ahead and find the slope. So again, what some students like to do is they like to label these coordinates. So let's call this x1, y1, and then x2, y2. And notice it says show work. So you can say the slope equals, and then you're going to say y2 minus y1, right? So y2. Now the order matters, by the way, when you do the slope. So if you say y2 up here, let me go ahead and do that. So if you say y2 minus y1, then the order matters. So if you put y2 first in the numerator, then you have to put x2 first in the denominator. All right, otherwise you're going to get the incorrect slope, which will be opposite of what you want. Okay, so we're going to say the work here. So here's the work. You're going to say y2 minus y1. So y2 is 5. Subtract y1, which is a negative 2. Divided by, now since I started with 5, I have to start with negative 2. Subtract 8. And so 5 subtract negative 2 is 5. Remember, 5 subtract negative 2 is 5 plus 2. So remember, change this to addition. You add the opposite. So 5 plus the opposite of negative 2 is a positive 2, so you get 7. And again, use your calculator. You have access to a calculator, so if you use your calculator, let's see if I can find my calculator. So notice you're going to get 5 subtract a negative 2 is 7, right? Okay, so the numerator is 7. The denominator, negative 2 subtract 8, if you use your calculator, that's going to be a negative 10. And then reduce if you can. I cannot reduce, but what some students do is, now notice it's negative, right? That's what you wanted. What some students do is they prefer to write this as a negative 7/10, just like this. So there's your slope, negative 7/10. You can put negative 7/10 here. All right, so that is the key to this worksheet.